Hello, everybody. Thank you all for joining. I'm Carmel. I'm the founder of Desperately Seeking, and I'll welcome you all to the fifth month, our fifth Str Expert Session. And we're approaching the end of our annual program. December 31st will be the closing event. And as always, all events are streamed on YouTube. But if you want to join the LARP in December here and take an active part in the discussion, go to the LARP page on our website. That is desperatelyseeking.online/LARP. There you can also access our archive and watch all our final cuts and backstage sessions. But before we start today's main discussion, I have a few announcements I would like to make. First, a general note. As far as we know, the geological events of this last month haven't resulted in any casualties. We are also closely monitoring any new developments, and we will keep you informed. But please, especially to those of us in New York, near Ground Zero, in Poland, in Krakow, or anywhere near major religious or war monuments, please, please, please stay safe and obey local regulations, especially avoid any water sources unless you absolutely have to. And I mean, including toilets, okay? And second, just some technical information regarding our event. And we hope our system doesn't crash because we have the RANT garbage virus. Well, I myself have been monitoring our DS forum, and currently it has 15,300 and 1,700 sign-ins. So we never had such a large audience. Probably this is because of the worldwide lockdown. As always, here with me, Gozde, aka Big Sis, will be reading our chat responses here on Zoom. Say hey, don't be shy. If you please want to open your mic or camera, you can, signal Gozde on the chat before, so, you will not overlap our discussion. And before I let Gabby introduce our expert for today's session, I would really like to thank our exclusive sponsor for this event. Gabby, can you please share the screen?
Are you disoriented lately? Can't remember what day it is? Can't even remember your name? This is important data which we all rely on to function. As you know, also we were out of it recently. We actually had to take a break last month. Things were bad, but now we're back. How did we do it? We talked to Data Proxy, who showed us how our data can work for us. Most of us give the wrong data away, and in only one direction. New research shows that data loss is the #1 cause for this syndrome in the metaverse. Well, now there is a quick and easy way to get your data back, and in comfortable rates. Introducing Data Proxy's VDN. VDN is a virtual data network that sends your data back to your brain. For example, all the data I fed the metaverse this month is now stored on my own data cloud. My VDN also allows me to control my storage settings and decide between immediate access memory and temp memory. Not sure what goes where? Don't worry, just connect the help center 24/7. Plus, all the data is minted as a traceable NFT. So if you accidentally erase your data from your cloud, it's easy to get it back. Data Proxy's VDN uses only virtual green energy minuting, so it's also virtual eco-friendly. That means it doesn't corrupt any of your metaverse locations. If you order today and enter the words "Wellness Goes Deep," Data Proxy will start you off with a 3-month trial on a premium account. So, before you forget, go to www.dataproxy.biz to quickly set up your VDN account.
Thank you so much, Gabriel. And yeah, Gabriel, I think you can also introduce today's topic and guest now.
Yeah. I hope you can all hear me okay. Once again, thank you, Data Proxy, for helping us get out of that jam that we were in September. It was pretty hellish. I don't know if you remember. But yeah, and these past months, there have been even more radical events. I'm just going to show the last news bit that I managed to record last month. I mean, this material, this footage has been basically looping all over mainstream networks. But just to give us a little reminder of where we're at.
I was on guard at the camp about 3 a.m. Yeah, it was just me on watch that night, doing my rounds, and at this point, a bunch of trucks come in just outside the camp. So I figure it's maintenance. There's a big spike on the electrics. Yeah, the fences, yeah. Then they left, and then, so basically a train comes in on the old tracks that were completely bombarded at the end of the wall, and it stops. It docks on the platform. Doors open up, and then these people start coming out. Teenagers, kids, completely blank-faced, and they're just slowly marching out to the center of the camp, just over there. And that's when I noticed the noise. It starts getting louder, and then the kids, they just start going for it, moshing around, slam dance around the center of the camp, round and round, washing machine or something. I'm just looking down at this, hiding up in the guard tower, bricking it at this point. After about like 10 minutes, just stop, stand still, and then they start walking away from the camp in all directions. The noise is still churning on. So they basically have all the speakers set up. So it was pumping out the noise like it's a music festival. I get down from the tower, want to know there's nobody else there. And I look in the middle of the camp. There's just this little trickle of water coming out of the ground. And I figure they must have knocked a pipe or something like that. But the next week or so, we have people coming in, checking, there's no pipes. So I don't know where that water comes from.
So these past months, you could say that the world was rocked and shaken in the most literal sense. There are now numerous reports on underground drone sounds. I think it's also what you hear in this recording. And so far, it's always taken place on sacred and memorial grounds. These sightings are always coupled with water spouting from the ground. And first, indeed, authorities blamed this on youths. They were calling it acts of teenage vandalism, but new data shows that these are all geological occurrences. And scientists are now calling this decibel spatial enhancement. Now, as we know, this is also paralleled with a drastic rise in DIS syndrome cases that have rendered a lot of the internet dysfunctional for people over 25. It is practically a miracle that we are able to host this event today. And the only reason why we're not hearing the drone sound is because we are insulated right now and we just all blocked it out. We are in rooms inside rooms. Now, according to our guest, Brickabrax Kurill, all these incidents are not only connected, but also directed from above. And the thread that weaves them together is a trend we discussed in June already, if you remember. And that trend is called RANT, R-A-N-T. That's the new slang that Zoomers are using to communicate among themselves online. As you know, Zoomers are able to communicate flawlessly online, and they no longer talk to us usually. We even brought ARF on the third session in order to somehow communicate with Zoomers, and we were more or less successful. But yes, today we have MX Kurill with us to quickly introduce you. You are an investigative reporter for RedEye News with 20 years of experience in digital network strategy. You are famous for exposing the placebo leak fraud, and more recently for infiltrating into youth online communities by state-based organizations such as Deadfront and AlgoRant. Now you are looking at us desperately seeking in similar context. So I am curious to understand a bit better what this is all about. Now, you recently published a series of articles in your blog, RedEye News, and you called them the AlgoRant Revelations. So I guess my first question to you would be, what exactly are these revelations and how can they help us put all this into perspective?
Yeah, thanks, Gabby, for bringing me in here with your group.
Sure.
I'm glad you're interested in some of the reporting we're doing over at RedEye News. There's a certain section of the powers that be that, they'll stop at nothing to achieve their ends. One of their ends is to make it very difficult for investigators like me to find them or to bring them out into the light, or for the people in general to know what's going on. And one of the big tools that we have at our disposal, which is, much maligned, but still somewhat useful, is the internet. And one of the projects that they're investing very heavily in is some kind of obfuscation techniques or obfuscation program to get younger people off the internet and get them to stop using the languages that we use on the internet. The languages that Wikipedia is written in, all that stuff. So they're trying to. They have this program, to get people. I mean, they've been all influenced by this philosopher. I don't know if you ever heard of him, Willem Flusser.
Mm-hmm.
Willem Flusser is like, he believes that, we're in this post-literal age, and that the truth is in gestures, physical gestures. So they're moving. They want to move the Zoomers and millennials and move as many people as possible into a kind of physical gestural form of communication rather than this kind of textual form of communication where there's like lots of evidence and you can kind of draw conclusions, whereas when you're just reacting viscerally or physically, you're just going with your feeling. It feels good. You feel it means something, and that should be enough, to get you off the the critical bent.
Could you maybe back up on 2 points? I don't know if back up or zoom in. Well, the first question would be, what are these powers that be? You mentioned the 5 mouths. I am aware of what used to be called, especially in Cold War rhetoric, the 5 eyes. I'm assuming that there's some kind of connection. And the second is more of a clarification. When you say visceral, it kind of sounds to me that what we're looking at is more of a a gestural performative language that is, once again, non-textual. And so those who can, quote unquote, go through the motions are able to automate their behavior, and if they have like an intuition to that. And this is why we see the young managing this well, but rather people who are more dependent on text and on code and signifier chains, etc., they're barred from this.
Yeah, you got inhibitions, you got block, but if you can go all in, it feels great, right? So that's the attraction of it. It's very, it creates a lot of belonging, and that's what people want today. Belonging. And yeah, as you said, like, the powers that be are not a monolith, right? There's factions, factions within factions, and they're all in competition with each other. So you have the Five Eyes, it's very ocular, it's very visual, it's very, oriented towards having it's an old style view of surveillance, right? That's like George Orwell or Jeremy Bentham, all that stuff. And, that's what, that was the alliance of kind of spy agencies, a little bit old school, US, UK, Australia, and New Zealand and Canada. Well, they also, so now, of course, the younger generations working inside there, realize that this is fine for kind of trying to, it had its limits anyway in terms of the political aims that they're trying to achieve. And they started researching, as I said, influenced by this Flusser character, that to go into more visceral and more body-oriented forms of surveillance and C3, communication, command and control, right? C3, VC3 is what it's called, right? Visceral communication, command and control. And so they want to get people like, communicating viscerally. And so the mouths, you see a lot of oral phenomena. You see people, bulimia is coming up, and other things that are going in and out of the mouth and into the esophagus and all that stuff. That's all like part of their research. And of course, like inside the five mouths, there are the five tongues, right? And the five tongues, it's like a small lab inside the five mouths, where they're sharing, linguistic or proto-linguistic information, right? That's all about moving stuff around in your mouth.
It's interesting what you said, because basically this kind of brings together a couple, maybe even holes in the discourse on linguistics, and I'll explain what I mean. So once you forego language as text and you start focusing on the organ of the language, which is, a term by Noam Chomsky, right? This idea that there's an innate organ in every human being that enables speech. You also start thinking about language, about the mouth as this kind of intermediate thing that's textual as much as it is performative. It literally does. When you speak, you move your tongue, you perform speech. So it's kind of at the intersection between the symbolic and the physical and the ontological. Okay, in slightly philosophical terms, stop me if it gets too abstract. If we think of Foucault, and if we think of all this criticism that was centered on the order of vision, right? Also, Donna Haraway, etc. At the time, the idea was control through vision, the panopticon gaze, etc. All of these concepts. And now you're saying that in a way, since maybe you see in the popular public domain, we have managed to somehow gain certain agency on the order of vision, then they're moving to the more visceral. They're moving to the physical, the performative because text is also visual, right? Sign is visual. It's all controlled through visuals, and they're basically moving away from that. And this is why instead of the 5 eyes, you have the 5 mouths. You have basically things that do things, that set things in motion. Even language now no longer means anything. It's just performative. It moves things, it generates, right? And these are the new structures that the powers that be operate by. And this is also a connection that you find between the 5 mouths and Zoomer-RANT.
Yeah, so okay, there's a lot to unpack there, but let's just say that this kind of algo-RANT or Zoomer-RANT or various kinds of visceral language is being cultivated in various small communities around the world, right? And there are like people who are aware that this is an experiment, but most people are just enjoying it because it's meaningful for them. It actually feels good.
By people, you mean Zoomers and the younger generations.
Kids love it, or they're into it. It's still a bit weird for some people, especially that's why but schools are trying to keep the kids in school, but it's not working, right? This is pretty powerful stuff. Now, the one important thing is that, of course, the Zoomers globally are a larger, demographically larger generation, right? They can overwhelm the powers that be, so they must be kept out of the loop. They should not read WikiLeaks and stuff like that. They should not, be reading stuff. They should be involved in these kind of visceral language experiences and visceral culture, and be find contentment in there. That's one of the main objectives of generating these new forms of VC3.
The first thing that this reminds me of would be punk. Why? As I don't know if early, but first well-established youth culture, youth movement at the time, it used, again, symbolism in a very performative manner, right? When Sid Vicious wears the swastika, he doesn't actually mean that he identifies with the symbol. He does this as a provocation. He tries to solicit a reaction from the parent generation, right? And you also see these behaviors among youths, this idea that if a system operates in a certain way, we do not necessarily need to agree to, use the tools the way that they have been given. We will use the symbols the way that we want to. We will use the language the way that we want to. We will use the apps the way that we want to. We will use the services the way that we want to. And it becomes our own code, right? Our code language. Only, I guess, in a way, only punks really understood the meaning of the symbolism in certain cohorts. There's also particular scenes and sub-scenes that you see among youth cultures, right? And each had their own subset of language and of performances. But you also saw that with technology. When you would have a new technology introduced, a new app, for instance, back in the early 2Ks, there was MySpace, then it was intended to be used in one way, but then the kids said, you know what? No, we're going to use this another way. You intended this for bands. We're going to actually make this all about the audience, right? The fans. Fans started cultivating their own brand, right? This again eventually paved the way to things that we know today. But back then, the whole idea was, tell me if you agree with this, that really youths had the power to reappropriate not only the language, but the way that it performs in a way that they saw fit in order to foster a feeling of community and belonging. And now what you're saying is that the powers that be are hijacking this, if I understand correctly. So basically what you're saying is that, to simplify it, Zoomer-RANT is not actually operated or run by the Zoomers and by the kids. but there's a subcurrent or there's something from above. It's actually a psyop.
It's a lot of investment in that. Yeah, well, I mean, what isn't a psyop, Gabby?
I don't know. What isn't a psyop? What is a psyop?
I mean, the psyop just needs scale. That's when you start talking about scale.
Okay.
Right? When there's an agency of some kind that's investing, resources into people and office space and computers to run it, but everybody's doing their own psyop, right?
So do you think that Zoomer-RANT was a grassroots development, or was it concocted and planned in advance by the government, basically, if that's what I'm understanding from you?
Well, I don't know. I don't think you can describe the Five Mouths Alliance, especially the people working in the advanced labs there, as being any particular government, right? Mm-hmm. This is a global association of interested parties who have a lot of resources to invest in ensuring their perpetuity in the position of power that they enjoy today.
So this is like a shadow government, a shadow collective?
Well, again, it's not monolithic. They do meet to organize financing from time to time, but and it's entertainment for them to watch. I mean, you saw Squid Game, right? I mean, it's entertainment for them to watch what kind of phenomena the kids are coming up with, and any kind of organic phenomena that arises from communities of concern among younger people can immediately be set upon and diverted to their aims, right?
So I have to say, you don't think Squid Game is some kind of a document on how society behaves, do you? I mean,
it's a very early document. It's from the early 2010s, I think, or 2020.
2020s maybe. That's I mean, it's an allegory, right?
Is it though? Is it, or is it just or do we just enjoy looking at it and say, oh, society, awful, right? What people would do to one another. I mean, but is it really what people would do to one another? I don't know. Do you think?
Well, I mean, that's what you're seeing now, like with what Gabby was reporting on, that, they don't need to go that far. I think, when Squid Game was made, it's a little bit like, it's for entertainment purposes. It's for the video game, the first person shooter video game fans. And, they made it a little bit, they accentuated the violence, but it's not necessary to go that far. Obviously, you can have strong experiences and even more sustainable experiences, just like going through some algo rant or.
I see.
Yeah.
So this is basically an example of top-down socialization in very dire straits, right? I mean, in that sense, you say like people come together in the worst, under the worst conditions, and bond. And Squid Game would be some kind of an example to this type of social model that you feel that now the Five Mouths are once again using to manipulate a society. I see Gozda's hand. So Gozda, please.
I have two questions, one directed at Brax and the other one to Dr. Rezolinsky, though I don't really want to change our course here. But first, to Brax, do you think desperately seeking community is a psyop? That would be my first question. Also, in your introduction, in Gabi's introduction, he said that because you see a connection between our community and these Five Mouths, the way they operate. That's my first question. And the second thing about like how Squid Game skepticism about how Squid Game is about how society works, I would say that I don't think it matters if it is that right now, but it's the manifestation of something. Even if it's a Netflix show, it's just a start of something, just like the elections, if you ask me. It's never what came until to that, it's not what accumulated until that moment. It's more like a fortune teller about the future and what's going to happen. It's like a signifier of our future. So when AfD gets 13% of the parliament in Germany, it means that we should expect more from them because they have the 13% now. It's more like saying, okay, welcome to your new reality. You see it now, and that's what's gonna start unfolding.
So basically what you're saying was that both Squid Game and what happened with the AfD back then in 2020 were sort of precursors to the situation that
17.
we are in today.
17, yeah.
Frankly, I haven't really investigated your group intensively. I mean, I've been following Gabby around for a while. We kind of sometimes intersect in the same bars.
Oh, like physically you've been following him around?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
okay.
I mean, that's how we were just talking in the bar, and that's how I got on this show, right? Because I wasn't really up to date on what you people were doing, but
we're doing the God's work. But
yeah. Well, I mean, you just seem to be trying to make sense of this situation. I don't know if you're. I mean, of course, you're trying to make your career, as everybody is. Make your brand by being socially concerned group there, providing this service maybe to older people who are wondering what's going on with their kids or something. I don't know exactly what your business model is, but I haven't really thought about you as being like generated, but it's hard to draw the line where the generation of the PSYOP ends, right? Because we're all kind of produced by the circumstances under which we exist.
Sure.
Yeah.
Dr. Ethan?
Yes, so I want to say to Squid Game, and then maybe take it to also the water from the ground, that we don't hear mainly because we have earphones on this conversation, at least I do. I think Squid Game sells you the possibility to feel anti-capitalist by watching it. Like, you watch it, you think that's awful, and that is the experience that Squid Game is selling you. It is it's simplifying a problem, and it's putting this whole thing in the market, in the market of ideas, in a very shallow way, so that everybody from their couch watching Netflix could feel like a rebel. That's what I think about Squid Game. I think there is something very similar with the fact that metaphorically people think that if their mouths are being shut by somebody else, by an external force, the way to rebel against it is by vomiting, right? The idea that the objection, that take it out through the mouth, so force your mouth to open if it's being shut by somebody else. And if we think about this strange phenomenon of the water coming out of the ground, it would be very easy to say this is an objection of something that's being kept sealed and forced into closure. But I'm not sure that the solution is so simple. I'm sure that we like to feel oppressed, so we think, okay, this must be also by something that is being oppressed because we like to identify with. But I'm not sure that it's that simple. Maybe I wasn't very clear. I will try to reformulate that and get back to you.
If I understand correctly, Dr. Ethan, what you are saying is, again, to simplify what you're saying, you're saying that this too, in a way, is somewhat of an apocalyptic narrative that people are buying into. I don't know about you. I do feel the word apocalypse has been brought up several times in our sessions, and not for poor reason. I think that what we're looking at right now, things that are happening, are very disconcerting. But you're saying, no, this too is just a narrative that is comfortable for people to digest. It's actually a lot more complicated. And if we would properly unpack this, we would see that there is an entire actor network of agents at play here. I was wondering though, Mix Kurill, how you see this, and also if you could shed some light on this visceral connection again between what you call algo-RANT. By algo-RANT, I'm assuming that you're hinting at it being algorithmic, or maybe that's what you mean by this visceral automation, this performance of language. Maybe that's what you mean by algo. And how do you connect that to, again, these water sources, fluid? Actually, last time I checked, people are saying that this isn't really water, that there's some kind of an organic substance, maybe even bodily fluid. How do you connect all these things? And is this just a narrative?
Well, I don't know if you really want to know what my research is. It's pretty macabre, what my research has discovered on terms of those geysers, or those trickle, those water eruptions. Yeah, I mean, maybe you want to put up a trigger warning on it, but I mean, the point is that some of the people who are dedicating resources to generating these strange social phenomena, which again, I want to say that a lot of the people who are enjoying them, or taking part, are not really conscious of the fact that these are constructed. Well, these people, they have a kind of perverse fascination with these kind of burial grounds, right? And they're actually they're interested in the soil there, and the detritus of many people who've died there, and so they're extracting some extracts from that soil there.
Oh,
underneath. They use it for various ceremonies, and it's like a status symbol.
So wait, there's this crust of people that this is actually materialistic to them? But wait,
yes, it's very special material there. That's very, very precious to them.
In these particular locations, and these memorial grounds, religious grounds, apparently, you claim that the soil is richer there with some kind of substance.
Yeah, it has it has a particular, it's just they're really interested in that kind of human legacy.
I'm sorry for going a bit backwards, but there are two things I want to ask you about. One of them is something that you talked about earlier. You talked about the feeling of belonging of this youth, but what I wanted to ask you, isn't this a thing all of us need? How do you particular or different them from the general feeling most of us want to have or need to have just by being humans? Why are they different?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I'm not a social psychologist or anything about, why younger people are going this way, and why it's grabbing so much. It has so much adhesion. It's like it's just compelling these young people so strongly. I can only suspect that after decades and decades of nonsense and bullshit in mainstream media, that they're and in their schools and whatever their parents are saying or thinking, they just looking for another way to to make some sense of the world. So I mean, every generation has their own kind of genres of their own culture, their own subcultures. So this is one that seems to be attracting a lot of people.
I find it interesting that time and again we are talking about things that are happening right now in terms of fashion, of trends, of these behaviors that garner some kind of following and then become mimetic. But Kamel, you wanted to answer briefly, and afterwards Gozde wanted to say something?
Yeah, what I'm trying to understand is also relating to what you just said, Gabriel. What is the source of all this, inner mechanism or the machine that floats these passions that, at least from what I understood earlier and also regarding your answer now, I feel like there is something that is, making us, especially maybe the youth, but I feel that it's not just the youth, it's more of us, go to certain direction in order to communicate. And those platforms and channels are not, so free as and open as we might think they are, I guess. And we're all quite aware of it, but we're still there. And this is like a space in between the space that confuses me, because I never know, like, is this for me or am I like working for someone without knowing? I know we are all like in awareness of it, but actually not knowing what's going on. I was wondering if you can maybe help us understand a bit more about this, because I know how much you've been informed of what's been going on in the community, but there's been some very weird and difficult situations, including police and government and journalists claiming things about us. And I'm like still just trying to figure out, even though we have our own platform and everything, I don't know who actually controls things. So
maybe it sounds to me quite similar to Zoolander. Maybe behind everything, once again, there's the fashion industry. If this is really industrialized, then maybe it's time that we reconsider fashion. Maybe in the age of memes and what used to be TikTok and where social media is today, maybe the very idea of fashion functions differently. Maybe the fashion items are different. And maybe that's what we're seeing right now, some kind of a politicizing of fashion, but we can't grasp it as politics because it's fashion. It's just trends and followings. But yes, Gozde, sorry.
Mine is, again, a question, not a comment, because Brax mentioned that some people spare these powers that be, or these five mouths, spare their resources to kind of channel the narrative or the conversation, the youth culture, etc. I was wondering what kind of resources are they actually investing in? Is it just like a algorithm thing? Is it like an online thing, or do they have like agents in the field? Like, are they sending people out to, I don't know what to do? but is it like, what kind of resources do they have and how do they operate? That's what I was wondering.
There's two kinds of resources. No, you said that there's actual natural resources, that the land has more value, that it's rich, that there's some kind of an elite that's using the soil there. And then there's the resources that this shadow elite crust is investing in order to extract these resources.
They're investing resources into algo-RANT, or what you're calling Zoomer-RANT, or VC3, and these labs. I mean, these are enormously wealthy entities. You know, they have enormous amount of wealth. A lot of them are, you know, whales on in crypto as well.
Uh-huh.
So you know, they can pay for geologists to make studies which confirm the stories that they want to become official. They of course are, you know, well connected and well established within corporate media, etc. So, you know, they are very experienced in coordinating narratives on a large scale, and they have the resources to make it stick, which means hiring actors, you know, infiltrating police departments, providing scientific backup for various claims, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know if that's the kind of resources you're talking about. I mean, there's the other resources, I don't know. I mean, in the soil under these memorial places, there's some special elixir that they're trying to, they've been extracting and exchanging among themselves. Apparently, it's a status symbol, something that they prize very highly, and it involves like I don't know. They're doing some kind of pumping. I'm not sure what they're doing down there. They're doing something.
And how come that this is the first that we're hearing of this? Why haven't you not, used other channels in order to, you know, amplify your message?
I mean, I don't know if you've looked around, but like this Desperately Seeking channel is like one of the only ones that's really focusing on this phenomena. I mean, people think I'm crazy. If I go on the mainstream media, you know, nobody's listening to me. So, you know, I try to get the message out, have my blog, you know, and have our news organization. But, you know, it's just put into the conspiracy theory box.
So
I mean, you can't even post my stuff on Facebook, right? I don't know if you tried to share anything on Facebook or on any kind of social media.
Well, you know,
it doesn't show up, right?
I mean, who uses Facebook today? It really is just for kooks.
Giving.
Yeah,
I mean, that's exactly where people, the more esoteric community still uses Facebook.
You know, even there. But have you heard of the Betaverse, right? I mean, that's what they. Yeah. Anyway.
I mean, I did not try to post you on Facebook, but when I was like somethinging you on my browser, it was like I got several like blockage. You know, when this page appears, it just says, "Are you sure you want to enter this page? It's like unreliable. It could be like virus, whatever." Like it was not easy to search for your content. I can say that.
I mean, the only reason I can keep pumping this stuff out is, you know, I don't have problem with my income flow. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
Okay. So, but you.
Wait. This is interesting. What does that mean? You don't have an income problem? Then I have to ask, like, are you like somehow related to these 5 mouths, or are you like a bored aristocracy kid? Like, what is going on there?
Well, You'd be surprised how many disenfranchised kids from powerful families or powerful backgrounds are wandering around. They also need to belong together, you know, and they have access to a different understanding of the world because they grew up there.
Oh, I just wanted to say, I remember like in some of these discovery workshops, like I remember seeing like really odd types, like not necessarily kids that were seeking help, but like really random looking, middle plus aged, especially men, like really odd types. Yeah, this is actually also connects to the guest appearance we had with Gorm in September. We were discussing like these disappearances, and I remembered like there was this, especially this one weird guy that was lurking around in our workshops.
I remember you were really distraught by that. Was it Greg?
Yeah.
Was it Greg or Craig?
Maybe Craig, but with a K.
I remember this distinctly, right? Because you talked to me afterwards. You sought help and you wanted to consult how to deal with this. What exactly happened there?
I mean, so people come and go to workshops. Like sometimes they don't stick to it. We think that they got whatever they needed, so they leave the workshop. Or we don't necessarily always follow up on our members or people who decide to join. But there was this weirdo, I remember like lurking around, and he joined one of my workshops while I was conducting like somewhere around Belarus back in the day. And I remember like 3 of the teenage girls from the workshop told me that they received like really weird text messages from him, and so I kicked him out. But like he was having like really strange exchanges with especially the teenagers, and not necessarily sexual exchanges, but I don't know, he kept saying like a brutal honesty or whatever in his texts, but like really random stuff that creeped the kids out. So he disappeared after a while.
So you suspect that this wasn't harassment, but rather, if I understand correctly, some kind of a recruiting attempt?
Yeah, it was like it had some kind of a recruiting feel to it. Now I'm thinking like this agents or like actors paid by this like five mouth or whatever, the wealthy of the world. They could just be one of those guys, and they might be trying to infiltrate our workshops or desperately seeking community. You know, our barrier is like not that low, so we trust each other in our community, so it's not that easy to get in. Doesn't mean that you cannot, but you have to be like really tactful to do so. I don't know what kind of like what do you call it, like like training these people go to, these like agents of chaos or whatever. But yeah, I remember one instance like that.
Next, Kurill, do you want to comment, or Kulmel, do you want to add something to this? Because I remember you also had similar issues of your own.
Yeah, but first and I hope it doesn't sound abrupt or aggressive, but just because of the things you mentioned, Goza, how it is important for us to feel safe in our community, and you being big sis and being such an important part. And I feel like this responsibility, and you take every other space you go to. How come the situation has come to be that there is this kind of person you don't know, like, and I feel these are things that are so important, and it makes me really question and the things in those workshops, and how now it's connected to me feeling very unsure and unsafe about what's really going on, even here in this meeting and these events we're doing and these conversations. I really, I feel quite confused since our previous meeting, and I must say I'm trying to understand what are you feeling about these sort of connections, and I hope it's okay I'm asking you, because I feel I trust you and you know that, and honesty is like the first thing in our community. But didn't you have like this rotten feeling?
Of course, like I mean, we are humans. We all make mistakes, and that's like the good thing about our community. We accept everybody. We are open. We cannot just say, "Oh, you don't seem to belong here, so go away." We can't say that. But our members and my trainees, so to say, trust me, they know that they can come to me if they feel uncomfortable by anything really from the community. It could be a weirdo texting them, or it could be the way we conduct our classes. We take everything into consideration, and I think we're doing a great job, especially in the workshops, discovery workshops. Yeah, that's going to be my brief answer.
Thanks, Kurill. How do you see this? How do you tie all these things together? Are we really being infiltrated?
Personally, the work you're doing is important work, and your attention to the safety of your community is vital. So if you have concerns that you are being infiltrated, or there are people there who potentially can harm the people you're working with, then it's important to attend to that. And yeah, I think what you're going to be generating there, and you're desperately seeking together, is a resistant community. It's a critical community, and that's something very important to cultivate. So I hope I could contribute a little bit to your program there. So sure, get a little dose of it might be a little bit of apprehension or something because of the scale of what's going on, and also like the some of the actors who you may not have considered are involved, but you probably intuited it anyway. That might be disconcerting, but you people are talking it through, so talking is important.
That's a bit ironic to say talking is important in such a visceral time when everyone is using language in the most.
You gotta resist the algo rant. I mean, you can do it if you want. There's nothing wrong with it, but you got to keep up the other practices of other kinds of language practices. Don't just give in completely to. I know it's tempting, but giving in completely to the algo rant is not going to take you where you want to go.
I find it interesting that we're also well behaved in this conversation, because I know personally for a fact that we are really at odds, many of us, in our opinions about this. Those that you usually are such an advocate for anything that our young Zoomer communities and the alphas follow them do. And so, I mean, I commend us for a very for keeping to the etiquette, especially after the tension that we had last week. But I see your hand. I also am curious about something that Carmel, you told me, something that happened last year, but before that, it was on private chat. But Dr. Ethan, you voiced some reservation. I wondered if you would like to share that with the rest of the forum.
Actually, it was sufficient for me to write it in the chat, but since you asked, I think it's very convenient to feel uncomfortable, to feel like somebody's after you, to feel like there are forces that you don't see under the ground, and they play this music or whatever, or there are some secret societies doing what. It's much harder to look at reality and say, well, this is it. What you see is what you get. And I get it. We are working in my department on this exact specific kind of therapy that will help people admit that to themselves that there is no conspiracy. I need to do a bit of hard work and to recognize reality and its complexities without reducing it into a scheme, without buying into this very easy way out of if I don't understand something, it must be the world, not me, that where the problem is. So that would be my point. I have voiced it before when I was meeting you for the first time, and I think it's still valid. I think whether this is a cult or not, or whether there is a conspiracy or not behind, I don't know if it's relevant. The question is, do you understand the reality you're in, or do you not? And if you're not, that's on you to change that, and not to try to change reality into a more understandable one, but change yourself. And further, you can start by organizing your room and go from there.
Oh, okay. That was just plagiarized, but never mind. Big Sis.
So a couple things. One, it could be a conspiracy. It may not be a conspiracy. There might be one, there might be 18 of them. Doesn't matter. It's like dwelling on it is, at least if I speak for the community, it is not helping us. We're trying to make do in the community, but I mean, as like person responsible from this, at least this part of this community, or I feel responsible at least. I think it's very valuable for me to hear about this stuff, like the 5 mouths or the Zoomer-RANT stuff. Although I'm not sure about the Zoomer-RANT being like a psy-op or like a kind of a like a Jackson Pollock being inserted in the art history kind of situation. I'm not sure that's what's going on with the Zoomer-RANT, because I know some of the kids from my community speak Zoomer-RANT. They're like fluid in it. I have no connections to it. When they interact with me, they speak in the human tongue. At least we have a common denominator.
Well, at least they speak with you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're very lucky. I mean, we had to bring a special interpreter a couple months ago just to establish.
I'm grateful for their trust. Like, I don't take it for granted, and it's very important to me. But it could easily be something that will be co-opted. Like, it started as an organic thing in the community, but then some people come hijack it, and then the narrative, because that narrative is conspiracy narrative, is really strong, and people really like believing in conspiracies. It's easily hijacked. Then the original narrative doesn't matter anymore, and then we have to move from there. I don't know what happens in the community once we unfold, once it's unraveled that it's a conspiracy, it's a grassroots, it was an organic grassroots thing, or it was a conspiracy. I don't know what the community would do about that. My guess is that they won't care, because it's just a tool for them to exist, and maybe it's question of the outside world. Like, how do they deal with this phenomenon?
So basically, in this actor network that you're describing, I'm trying to kind of make sense of what the boomer here among us just said, Mr. Rosalinsky, that it's a lot more complex, but it almost sounds to me like secular complexity, a secular reading, kind of like everyone's going to make out of it whatever they want. You know, the elites are going to use this in order to extract whatever they need from the soil. That's why they are so invested in this. Others are invested in this psychologically in order to bond, in order to feel better about themselves. Those who want to bring on the apocalypse will bring on the apocalypse. What's so bad about the apocalypse? I remember you saying that last time, Big Sis. So yeah, why not? I mean, but it's as if at the core of it, there isn't an actual soil or actual earth and actual resources and actual societies that need to actually function. So I'm kind of wondering if we could relate to all of this in such relativist terms as if it's just, it's a fashion trend, it will blow over and then eventually something will come to replace it. When what I'm thinking that what might come to replace this is a new species altogether. You could call that a new fashion trend. I don't know. But that's very post-humanist. I don't know. I'm just a bit at a loss with this nihilistic kind of outlook that we are all kind of throwing at one another like feces at this point. And again, we're maintaining our composure. It's all very polite conversation, but the subcurrent, the undertone of what we're saying here is, I don't know if reckless, but there's a certain violence here. We're kind of like tearing things apart.
I don't know if it's reckless or
you mean like the currents from the bottom of the earth?
Maybe, yeah. Carmel, yes.
And also this feeling of, I understand what Gozen you were saying, but I cannot detach feeling that everything is corrupted, that I feel unsafe, even in my own home, like this thing, that I was taken by the police.
Yeah, when you that event, I mean, you were shaken up by this completely. That was 1 year ago, more or less.
Yeah, and we knew they were like on our trail and following us for a little bit, but for a while there is nothing jumping up. They're not taking me in, and nothing on the platform channel is like, looks weird. So it's very unsafe feeling because I feel maybe they're just here, even right now, and they're allowing us, me, whatever, our community, do our thing because they already know the direction of things, and maybe they are the directing our direction and we're not knowing it. I don't know, I just feel confused even more than our last meeting. I just have so many questions for so many different directions. I'm trying to realize how I can place myself and feel not unsafe, even in the visual space,
Yeah. Max Kurill, could it actually be, could this be the explanation as to why Carmel was taken in a year ago and we haven't heard from them since? Could it be that what we thought were the feds or, government officials were actually agents of the Five Mouths? Do things like this actually happen? I mean, you've covered this extensively.
It's very possible that they were agents of those entities that just wanted to find out, what you're interested in and what do you know, and maybe try to get as much, intelligence about your activities as possible. But also, it's always good to keep everybody on their toes. Feel that, by playing officers of the law, that has that ambiguous effect. Keep people cautious, a little bit paranoid. Paranoia is in there. It serves their purposes, right? I mean, paranoia is definitely like a healthy response to contemporary conditions, right? Because
But how can I know? How can I know if it's only in my head or it's really here in the metaverse?
does it matter?
I don't know. I don't know anymore. That's the thing.
It's a question of like big picture or, you know, local circumstances that you have more control over. In the big picture, it's pretty hard to know what's really going on. Even the people involved don't know completely. But your little community here, people you trust here, you can talk things through. You've been working with them for a while. You know, that's something that you can count on. So, you know, that's something that you can rely on. And, you know, I always say, like, you know, like I said, you know, paranoia is a healthy response. Depression is a healthy response to these circumstances. And follow, you know, if you have a paranoid, like, fantasy of conspiracy theory or that, you know, just follow it. It's probably some truth in there.
Mazda?
I want to say something in line with what Brax said. They feed off fear, Carmel. Fear is the father of all evil. So watch out for that. Just do your thing, trust your community, trust us, and it's gonna be fine. Just trust the process.
Trust the process.
Be demanding, though.
Be demanding, trust the process, but not in an algorithmic manner. Listen, sorry, I mean, before we wrap things up, I have to say, and this is happening, you're not the first guest with whom this is happening. It almost sounds to me as if under the guise of this rogue reporter, and actually I feel this, maybe it's just me, I feel this coming from all sides, even from you, Dr. Ethan. It almost sounds as if you are all trying to just get us to be complacent. Kind of like say, the operation is running smoothly. Trust the process. Oh, it's way too confusing for you to actually understand what's happening. Don't worry, everyone's gonna interpret it in a way that they want. Don't think about it as anything more than just, you know, a wave, a fashion trend. That's my words, but no one seemed to object to it so far. This runs way too deep for you to be able to fathom or really get to the core of. A lot of people are interested in this, and you're well placed. I completely feel you, Kamil. I mean, I'm not sure who I'm talking to anymore, and in a way, I'm wondering if it really matters, if there's anything that we can do about this. It almost feels as if something has been set in motion. I am being compelled to accept it either as a narrative or not narrative, just a chain of events that I have no control of. Supposedly, it's even when it's man-made, it's not man-made, because these powers that be are so huge that they are beyond my control. So I should just shut up and, you know, do my thing. This forum here is just a very nice, like Squid Game, way to entertain people so that they feel that they're involved, right? I mean, just like with the ubiquity of leaks, when there's no real important information being leaked, but everyone's busy with the news about there being leaks, then nobody pays attention anymore to the information. It's just the drama around truth telling. So it's kind of, it feels like that's where we're positioned as quote unquote truth tellers that never reach the heart of the matter. And people want us to be positioned exactly there because we actually do have power, and this power serves their interests.
We cannot gain this power, or not the way we really want to. I mean, because no matter how much power we will gain, we will always want more. And that's also a thing we have to consider. And this is something that I feel like when there's something going on in a community, as long as it rises up in the surface, then it controls what's going on.
The moment everything
Yeah.
is rendered performative and nothing has meaning, then it's agency without agency. Then it's no agency with agency. It doesn't matter. It just does. So I'm at a loss here. Meanwhile, the soil is rumbling. Youths are running riot, not communicating with anyone. The craziest things are happening, and the market keeps running its course. The internet is barely, basically inoperable, and yet things just keep working, keep flowing. Amazon's doing fine, so I hear. Not the rainforest. Remember the rainforest? Remember the Amazon rainforest?
Siberia isn't burning yet.
Yeah.
I mean, we're left with Siberia.
No more rainforest. No more
I mean,
rainforest.
the Amazon, I hear stories of how amazing it was.
No more rainforest.
I didn't plan on visiting there anyway. There are too many very violent animals and humans in the Amazon.
Unlike down the street, which is why we're...
No, you don't have tigers down the street.
No, we have psychotic kids shooting people. But that's fine, right? I mean, I should just accept it.
Shooting people, shooting other things.
But that's completely fine, right? Because they're cool. Because they just let them be. Just accept our place in this food chain.
Well, it's not fine, but it is what it is. I know we have to wrap up, but I had a question to Carmel actually, because she said that when we have power, we want more power. She was and is in a position of power. How did she feel? You're the founder of this community.
I don't feel I have the power.
Is
I
she?
feel this community was not something I actually tried or meant to create or happen. It just happened. And it's went beyond me and us, and even at what we're doing here right now. And that is why I feel the way I feel. There's so many things going on, and I still haven't found what I'm looking for. And this fake feeling of having power has become more known to be fake than before.
You know, it's like those moments in film in which you can decide how you're gonna develop the plot. If you're gonna come up with this big scenario that borders on sci-fi and try to explain things according to these massive, huge turns of event, or if you're gonna go in a more allegorical, personal direction, speak to people's hearts, maybe tell a little story, a little family tale that people can empathize with and connect. So all I'm saying is, Komel, for our sake, for my own sanity and well-being, I so fucking hope that your cousin is behind all of this. At least that would give us some kind of an anchor.
I'm kind of understanding of what direction we need to look.
If you're out there,
or
if she's out there, if you're out there, JJ, wherever you are,
I really hope she is.
Yeah,
is.
maybe actually you're the savior that we've been waiting for, and not thinking.
She's the Messiah.
So yeah, we are a messianic group after all. Woohoo!
We are all.
We have come full circle. We are circling the rim of the well after all.
Just a matter of like, choosing.
Any last words before we wrap up, MX Kurill?
Anything to plug?
Yeah, check out my band Verrotbare Abwelle on SoundCloud.
Okay. And if we play it in reverse, or we find some...
You're gonna like it. But
if you play it in reverse, it sounds even better.
Just a little Beatles.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be watching you guys. Hope you keep the channel on. It is touching. It's good quality media. So I hope you're gonna keep it going. And thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining.
I hope it was useful.
Carmel, you wanna lead us out?
I don't know. I just want to, maybe I just want to say one last thing if I can.
Sure.
Because, I don't want to, this stuff is very dangerous, this Willem Flusser stuff. But you mentioned this messianic dimension, right? Mm-hmm. And Flusser also saw that we're heading towards a messianic moment in our culture through electronic communication when we see each other's face, because in Jewish lore, the only permitted image of God is the face of another human being. And so we are experiencing the messianic moments all the time here on Zoom.
Yeah. 5 o'clock.
That's actually an interesting perspective on it. Yeah. The spectacle of the self, that's how I like to think about it. Edith was always thinking of the spectacle as something so abstract, when actually it is the self that offers the greatest spectacle.
The self in the other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Love each other.
Do whatever.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here with us on Zoom. Thank you for all of you listening to us via Facebook, YouTube, or our community channel, or wherever or whatever. And as usual, every last Friday, and especially next month, we'll be very delighted to have you here with us. And I would like to thank again to dataproxy.biz for sponsoring this meet. And DVN is the best account you can have. 3 months premium account for free, so come on, go for it. And I hope this conversation will continue here in our community channel and anywhere else in our event or in the Facebook channel, and of course between us here as usual. And special thanks to all of you here sharing this screen with me.
Should we do the chant?
If you would like, I would very much like to.
Yeah.
So if you would like to open your mics and repeat after me, it will be lovely. I've climbed the highest mountains.
I've climbed the highest mountains.
I've ran through the fields.
I've ran through the fields.
Only to be with you.
Only to be with you.
I've ran.
I've
ran.
And crawled.
And crawled.
And scaled the city walls.
I've
I've
scaled the
scaled
city walls
only to be with you.
only to be with you.
But I still
But I still
haven't found
haven't found
what I'm looking for.
what I'm looking for.
Thank you, everyone. And
Thank
we'll see
you.
you all next month.
Bye, people. Stay safe.
Bye.
Thank
Stay
you, MX
safe.
Kurill.
Especially
Thanks, Brax. It was
Stay
really
alive. Stay safe.